Trev, thank you so much for the time. How you doing today?
Not too bad. Yourself?
I am doing great, thank you, and excited to have you in Austin for some shows at Cap City Comedy Club this weekend. Now, I know from Letterkenny stopping through here at least once, if not twice. I know there was a show that was interrupted by COVID. I don't remember if that got rescheduled or not, but you have been in the city before, making people laugh on stage. How often have you had the chance to come into town to perform stand-up, though?
I've been here at least twice for stand up, maybe more. I was here for the Moon Tower Festival a few years back. And I also came through here with Letterkenny Live. We did come through here on the last tour. And I also think I came here once and did a media or TV convention with Letterkenny as well. We did like a Q&A at one of the theaters. So I've been here a few times. I have a few memories of Austin.
Yeah, and here in different capacities too. So for you as a guy who has been making people laugh for a long time, long before Letterkenny, we're certainly going to get into it. What were your impressions of a city that suddenly finds itself as a sort of stand-up mecca on this planet?
I mean, I dig this town. This is a fun spot. I'm happy to be back here. I always had good crowds in Austin, and looking forward to hitting up some of the haunts. My wife has asked me to try to figure out how to bring some voodoo donuts back to Canada, so I have that task ahead of me. I think I might need a freezer and some Tupperware, but
Tupperware, and you got to check one of your bags on the way back too, I guess.
yeah, yeah. But there's ways to get donuts home.
That's a good problem to have to solve. So, you have been at stand-up for what, about 15 years at this point?
uh, Probably longer. I think the first my first stand-up set ever was in September of 2000. So on and off, I've been doing stand-up for 24 years in
Yeah,
come September.
nearly a quarter century. That's crazy. I got to tell you, the most recent stand-up special of yours that is out on audio, or at least through Spotify, was one of the most unique ideas that I've seen for a stand-up special, and that is a Christmas special. We have plenty of Christmas specials in the way of music, but Christmas, which is a holiday that you love, is something that you had a lot of fun with. And we don't really have any stand-up or Christmas-specific stand-up specials. So kudos to you on the creativity there.
Oh, thanks so much. I had a blast doing it. Yeah, I was actually driving around shooting his Letterkenny, listening to Christmas tunes on Sirius radio with my wife, and singing along to all the Christmas songs. And she was like, "You should do a Christmas album." And I was like, "You know what? We should, and we can, because we got a record company. So let's do it." And yeah, it was fun. Got to do some Christmas themed stand up, which we actually had to record in July to have it ready in time for a Christmas release. So it was a very weird taping, because before every show, the host would have to warn the audience, now, in the middle of this show, it's going to get very Christmas heavy. Just pretend that it's Christmas.
Yeah, there's actually a bar here in Austin that you could visit where it's Christmas year round. They've got the lights hung up and they don't have a jukebox anymore, I don't think, but they used to have a jukebox that was all Christmas albums. So if you really
Oh,
want to
nice.
experience Christmas right now, a la your stand-up special, you could go do that, and it's not too far away from where you are in the domain.
Yeah, we might have to go check that out. Yeah, I'm a big Christmas fan. I think my every once in a while my wife indulges in some Hallmark Christmas in July movies. So yeah, we're big Christmas fans in the Wilson house. So I'll definitely have to check out a Christmas themed bar. My nickname has been Young Santa in the past.
Oh, is that right? People having fun with you?
Well, I have a cherubic smile and my belly shakes when I laugh, so it was an easy comparison.
Yeah, you do have a jolly disposition about you, and that's something that is very disarming. But it's funny too, though, because it's not like you're this sweet innocent person on stage. You're not afraid to cuss. You're not afraid to get a little bit down and dirty when you need to. I also like how it's a really good blend of some really quick ideas with also a really good storytelling style too. Is that something that you're consciously trying to do when you're up on stage? Is blending two different styles so well like that?
It just sort of when you find your voice in comedy, it's easy to write for it. And I come from a theater background, and storytelling has always sort of been a natural part of that. And early on in my career, I had success with long form storytelling, and it's always been a good tool to have in the belt. And along with that, just straight up stand up is a lot of observation. It's a lot of strange but true, and it's thinking up goofy stuff or reminding people of the stuff they already knew but forgot to laugh at the first time. To paraphrase George Carlin, if I'm allowed to. Uh, so yeah, I mean, it's just you're right. Not every joke is going to be a story, but I like to take a topic and beat it to death.
That's a good way to do it. The funny comes from the darkness, right? And I love how you just mentioned Carlin. I know you've mentioned in other interviews that your love of playing with language comes from Carlin as a sort of inspiration, and that was certainly on display with Letterkenny. Like my wife and I are very familiar with all the quotes, and we watched every episode beginning to end, shed tears at times as well. And still, when we take our kids out for sushi, we say sushis and sashimis, which is a hard thing to say. So I imagine you having to say it on camera, you flubbed it once or twice too. But thank you for what continues to be a small source of entertainment for us, even less than a year after Letterkenny is officially done.
Oh, thanks so much. It was my pleasure. That the sushi and sashimi scene, Kiso had the toughest time making it through that one. We were shooting that in the set that was designed to look like an ice fishing hut, and it was actually quite warm. We were indoors, all in our winter jackets, inside of a studio, shooting that stuff. But Kiso couldn't look at my face during that. He said my eyes kept setting him off, and we had the toughest time just getting the wide shot establishing that whole scene because Kiso kept cracking at sushi and sashimi. And you don't need to pluralize that word, guys.
Yeah, just even going in and watching the outtakes, it's very obvious that there was a lot of love on that set. And look, there are successful shows where people come in, do their jobs, and go home, and it still is a pretty good end product. But to see how well all of y'all got along, was just added that much more to it. And I mean, there are outtakes where you're kind of over the laughs at times. I'm thinking about the Bondar scene where Kiso and the other character are just continuing to crack one another up, and you're maybe thinking about your lines, or you're also over the laugh at that point, but they're still just having such a hard time with what is such an absurd concept too.
It's Nate and Jared were each other's trigger for laughter. If one of them started going, the other one was going to start going. So it was a little bit more easy for me to pull it back after the laughter break. But once one of them started going, the other one was going to start going. When we were shooting the catch scene, they couldn't even look at each other during my coverage. They had to stand with their backs to each other because if that one of them saw the other one start to break, they were both going to break. And yeah, that was always the struggle when your scene partner is your biggest laugh trigger. It makes for a day. And my rule with those guys, if I did something in one take that made them laugh, the next take I was going to do it twice. So I didn't make it easy for them either.
I like that rule a lot. Now the catch scene has to do with your character talking about some surprise butt play. But you actually had to take to social media a few years ago to get people to stop with all of the references to that to you, and I believe your then fiance at the time. Has that slowed up, hopefully, as we continue to put a little bit more distance between that great scene in modern times?
People have gotten better about it. My longtime fans know my stance on that, and I've actually done a great job of policing it for me. They're very quick to point out to people that maybe you shouldn't make comments like that, and common sense is starting to make a return. But yeah, I enjoy that people enjoy the show, but there's a time and there's a place. Like, when you're three buddies playing catch by yourselves, you can have those conversations. When a fella's posted a nice picture about him and his lady, you don't make those sort of comments, and Wayne will tell you that. Here's how you can live your life. You think to yourself, would Wayne do that? And if he wouldn't, probably a terrible idea.
He's a pretty good Jiminy Cricket, isn't he?
He's a good sounding board. And, he's got a good moral compass and a good code. And 9 times out of 10, Wayne was usually right. Now, Jared Keese and I to this day will still argue over the number of knuckles on a finger. That is a true life argument that we've had, and there is three. I don't care if you can't punch with it.
Is that the basis of his argument that you can't punch with the first one, so therefore it's not a knuckle?
That's the basis of his argument. You can't punch with it. And then I always say, you ever taken a shot to the throat like that? Yeah, you can.
That's true. It just depends. You have double jointed people who can very easily do damage with that first knuckle, right?
Yeah, if it bends, it's a knuckle. That's the
Right.
that's the
Yeah.
rule.
Seems pretty cut and dry there. Now, you are Canadian
Yeah.
originally, and you are about to embark on your first headlining theater tour in Canada this fall, I believe. So you've
Yes, that's
spent
true.
time on stage, on that sort of stage with Letterkenny Live. You were a part of a panel discussion here. I'm guessing at ATX TV Fest or maybe the Austin Film Fest or maybe even South by Southwest a few years ago. Have you done much stand up in settings like that in that theater setting? And if so, how big of a difference is it in that and maybe a 200 to 300 seat club?
I mean, I've done my fair share of theaters from not just Letterkenny, but also many of the comedy festivals I've done in the past. We've done theater shows. I've opened for comics like Sarah Silverman, Patton Oswalt, and Louis C.K., all in large theaters. I'm familiar with the rooms, and with clubs, it's a little bit more intimate. It's a little bit faster of a response, if that makes sense. The bigger the space, the longer you have to wait for the laugh because you have
Mm.
to wait for the sound to hit the back of the room, and then you have to wait for that wave of laughter to come back towards you. So it's always so. My style of comedy of being slow and deliberate actually works very well in theaters because you really got to take your space. Because if you're too fast, you'll end up tripping over your own laughs if you're doing well. But I've also had the pleasure of doing large outdoor venues. I've done 20,000 seat outdoor arenas with the Oddball Festival, working with comics like Tracy Morgan and Jim Jeffries. And that's an even longer wait. That's an even bigger surprise when you have to wait for that outdoor amphitheater laughter to roll back at you. But it's all about the acoustics.
Yeah, the acoustics matters. Why I have a hard time like really envisioning what it's like at an outdoor venue like that. And like I know Bert Kreischer for the last couple of summers has been taking the show around the country, and it's been mostly outdoor shows too. Like even the arena shows, it's just so cavernous. Like I've seen shows in theaters that have two or three decks. You get to that third deck and you're losing touch with whatever it is that that person is doing on stage, and part of that is not being in the middle of the laughter, which is why the comedy club, all other things considered, like would I want to go see, I know this guy's given you a compliment before, what a cool moment for you, like go see Dave Chappelle at a 200 seat club or a theater or where the Texas Longhorns play basketball in this town. There's no question which of those atmospheres I would want to see him in the most because of that intimacy element that you were just talking about.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that you can't beat comedy clubs and why comedy clubs are the general destination for for stand-up. That design is perfect for that type of performance. But a good theater is, if it's designed well, it will do the job of keeping you within that show because it's set up for that sound. And honestly, a properly designed amphitheater will do the same thing, but you generally, the bigger the space, the more you need that giant floating head projector screen somewhere so people can catch the subtleties of the facial expressions and the reactions because uh, you know if there's a sight gag, you want to be able to see what the face is doing.
Yeah, exactly. No, the that just adds to the detail of it all, which I think is very important. Now, for people who may not understand just how deeply embedded your life is in stand up, I heard you mention this on another interview, but you are officially the world champ of roast battle based on a battle that you got in with at Montreal Just for Laughs a few years ago with Jimmy Carr just before COVID shut everything down. So Jimmy Carr is one of the quickest on his feet comedians out there right now. So you actually got the best of him in the roast battle setting, huh?
Yeah, technically, as far as I know, I am still the reigning world champion. Yeah, they held the Jeff Ross Invitational Roast Masters tournament at Just for Laughs before the pandemic, and Jimmy and I outlasted all the other competitors to meet in the finals, and I defeated the dragon that is Jimmy Carr. The and it was a hell of a battle. It was not filmed, so only the people who were there will ever know what happened at it. But Michael Rappaport did talk about it on his podcast, though, because he was one of the judges that night. But yeah, it was an epic battle. We went joke for joke, toe to toe, and I happened to be the better man that night. And Jimmy was gracious in defeat, as always. One of my favorite opponents in roast battle. Tremendous comedian, and I'm going to say it: class act. That Jimmy Carr.
That's how he represents himself to the people, and then you get to hear from that filthy mind, and you maybe reconsider. Do you remember the final blow, the fatal blow that really won you the title?
You know what? The jokes were structured in such a way it's really hard to because I know Jimmy's style and he would never just do one joke. He would
Sure.
do a series of jokes. So I knew that that's what I was going to have to do to him. So and also this is going to TV, so I can't say any of the things I said to Jimmy that night. I called him things you just can't call a person. That's for sure. But as Joe DeRosa said after Jimmy beat him, he's the devil. That's what makes him so hard to beat. It doesn't matter what you call him, he'll just smile and agree with you. You call him a pedophile and he just smiles and says yes.
Continues to look like a pedophile. That now Joe DeRosa does not throw the whole "he's the devil" comment. He doesn't just throw that around like people throw around "thank you." So coming from Joe, that's a big statement right there.
yeah, no, it was and delivered in Joe's inimitable style. It was one of my favorite critiques of Jimmy ever.
Yeah. Definitely got that Philly swagger, doesn't he? So as far as your current stand-up is concerned, Trev, you are at Cap City all weekend, and I assume you've been working on this set for at least a little bit of time. How long have you been working on this current set? Is there a general topic or theme that people can expect to see you this weekend?
I started working on this show before the pandemic and finished writing it after the pandemic. And it's um, a lot about getting married. There's a good part about that part of my life. So me and my wife, I talk about my wife a lot in the show, and a lot of it is about just getting older and getting my health in check. I talk about my struggles with diabetes, talk about getting diagnosed with sleep apnea, and I talk about the end result of the doctors dealing with some butt stuff there. little bit of colonoscopy humor
Hmm.
for the older crowd.
Yeah. Well, I'm
For
right
the
there
over
on
40s, we talk about the proctologist.
I'm right there on the precipice as well. And hate to hear about the diabetes thing. I will say I'm especially bummed for you that you weren't discovered to have diabetes like 200 years ago, back when doctors were literally having to drink their patient's urine to determine what the diabetes level was at that point in time, where there's like a sweetness, I guess, to the urine if you're diabetic. So at least if you're going to be diabetic, you have to watch your doctor drink your number one to see how well things are in check from month to month.
I can't picture my doctor drinking my pee. It's
You probably lose respect for him as your doctor. Let's be
yeah,
honest. If you're seeing him
she's a
do that,
classy
it's like,
lady.
do
I
you
just
really
can't
know what's
see.
going on scientifically?
My doctor is a classy lady, and I just can't see her drinking pee.
Even more so when it's a female doctor. You're right about that. All right, last couple of things now. I want to return and land with Letterkenny because your Squirrelly Dan character, they did a talent show, and Squirrely Dan gets on stage and performs stand up and wins. I forget if he wins the talent show or not, but anyhow, you do what you do for a living, and that is stand up, but you do it with a little bit of a hook. The do you ever wonder that hook? Kind of makes a fellow wonder. Did you ever use that on stage, or was that just something created on the spot for that character?
No, we came up with that for Letterkenny because we decided it would be really, really funny because I'm a stand-up in real life if Squirrely Dan was a terrible stand-up. And I came up with like did you ever notice? We were looking for a hook or something on set, and I did that, and it cracked Kiso. So I was like, all right, well, if we got the boss laughing, then we're off to a good start. And yeah, that was the goal. Is every time I did that, it was just me doing an impression of terrible stand-up comedy. And my favorite part is whenever Squirrely Dan is finished doing it, is he talks about how easy it is.
Well, Trev, thank you so much for the time today. People can check you out this weekend at Cap City Comedy Club. Still tickets available for each night. Go to capcitycomedy.com to snag those. And if you want to know what his comedy is like, go check him out on social media. Trevor Wilson on Instagram and elsewhere. Trev, thank you so much for the time today. It's been a real pleasure. Enjoy
Thanks so
yourself in
much for
Austin
having
and
me.
safe travels back this weekend.
Will do. Thank you so much for having me. Have a good one, guys.
Wherever you're watching or listening right now, please do subscribe if you have not already and like this episode, whether that's YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, or elsewhere. Thanks to Gentleman Jesus for the intro and outro music. Hear more of his work at gentlemanjesus.com. Thanks to you for hanging out. For more of the show and to connect on social media, visit booksonpod.com. Talk to you next time on Books on Pod.